Good afternoon, viewers. You're watching 𝐊𝐿𝐼𝐼 TV live from Sydney, and this is Sage. This show is the last show of the day, the last trade show, and let's see how the Australian shares perform today. The Australian shares closed marginally higher on Wednesday, with telecom, material and real estate stocks witnessing surges in buying, while the COVID-19 curbs across the country restricted the up move. The market saw a positive and steady start to the session and gradually kept on inching higher by the afternoon. However, persistent concerns over the rising COVID-19 exposure sites and tighter curbs spoiled the market mood. The S&P ASX 200 closed higher by 11.80 points, or 0.16%, at 7,313. And earlier today, the index opened higher at 7,301.20 and gained as much as 0.9% to hit an intraday high of 7,370.10. Moving on to the sectoral front, 8 of the 11 sectoral indices ended in the green, and the telecommunication services sector emerged as the top gainer with 2.58% gains. Some of the other sectors that closed higher included materials, financials, industrials and consumer discretionary. On the flip side, however, utilities stock emerged as the top laggard, falling 2.94%. Healthcare and energy stocks also ended lower with around 0.6% loss. Among the individual stock, the Australian resource company Iluka Resources Limited was the top percentage gainer on the ASX, rising 11.5%. And some of the other notable gainers were Clinuvel Pharmaceuticals, Chalice Mining, Telstra Corporation Limited and Nearmap. And on the other hand, technology company Nuix was the top laggard with 12.6% loss. Agl Energy, Collins Foods, Kogan.com and Origin Energy were among the top losers. And on that note, let's now focus on the shares that are in the news today. With first up, shares of First Graphene Limited jumped as much as 5.4% to 29.5 cents Australian after the company said it has signed a distribution agreement with Auckland-based GTM Action Limited. And moving on to the next news, talent management firm Live Hire Limited tech shares rose as much as 9.3% to 41 cents after the company won an managed direct sourcing contract along with an unnamed unit of a private US firm. Taking a look at the next news, the share price of Kingsgate Consolidated Limited dropped 2.9%, down to 84.5 cents on a deal with TDG Gold Corp. And the company has signed a non-binding letter of intent with TSXV, listed TDG Gold Corp, outlining terms for the acquisition of the company's Nueva Esperanza Advanced Gold-Silver Exploration and Development Project. And this is located in the Maricunga belt of the Atacama region of northern Chile. And moving on to the next news, shares of Australia's Terracom Limited soared nearly 23%, reaching 13.5 cents on debt relief. The company said in an exchange filing that its debt holders had agreed to delay payments by 6 weeks, allowing it to finalise a new debt facility of up to 215 million Australian dollars. Coal miners are finding it increasingly difficult to secure financing and insurance as a global push towards clean energy pressures their backers to break away from fossil fuels. Let's now look at the next big news. Software firm Novati Group Limited has entered into a share purchase agreement for the acquisition of an equity interest of at least approximately 15% in an ASX-listed Reckon Limited. Reckon is a leading provider of accounting, expense management and scanning print management software for over 100,000 small to medium enterprises globally. And the company entered a trading halt this morning to undertake a capital raising, part of the proceeds of which are intended to fund the acquisition of the strategic stake. And now it's time for another short break, but please stay tuned. I'll be back with more trending updates. Crypto talk by 𝐊𝐼𝐼. The crypto market has been red hot given the Bitcoin rally since the past year. And now the most famous cryptocurrency has got competitors, Dogecoin and Ethereum. If the crypto market excites you, tune in with me, Sage, to know the latest developments about the existing digital currencies and the new ones that are joining the race. I'll help you understand the opportunities and the risks the crypto market has in store for you. For all the digital currency related developments, continue watching Crypto Talk by 𝐊𝐿𝐴𝐚. Welcome back, viewers. This is Sage. You're watching 𝐊𝐿𝐴𝐚 TV live from Sydney, and this is the last trade show. Well, we're discussing the ASX listed shares that were in the news today. Let us look at the next news. Lithium boron supplier Ioneer Limited has signed a binding offtake supply agreement with 𝐂𝐴 Innovation Co Limited, and the agreement is for 3 years, under which Ioneer will supply 𝐂𝐴 with lithium carbonate from its Rhyolite Ridge lithium boron project in Nevada. And next up in the news is Telstra Corporation Limited, the telecommunications carrier of Australia, reported the sale of 49% of its towers business for 2.8 billion Australian dollars on the 30th of June 2021. A consortium comprising the Future Fund, Commonwealth Superannuation Corporation and Sunsuper will become strategic partners in Telstra InfraCo Towers on sale. Its towers business is the largest mobile tower infrastructure provider in Australia, with approximately 8,200 towers. And the next big news comes in from the drug maker Paradigm Biopharmaceuticals Limited, reported that it has responded to the US Food and Drug Administration's questions related to its investigational new drug application, and the FDA is now expected to review the PAR's responses and revert over the next statutory 30-day period. And this ASX listed company is also making the news. Shares of Link Administration Holdings Limited rose 1% to $5.06 Australian after the admin services provider announced the plans to retain a slightly smaller shareholding in the property settlements platform PEXA. The shares of PEXA or PEXA are set to list on the ASX on July the 1st, being tomorrow, in an exchange filing. Link, the largest shareholder in PEXA, said it would hold a 42.8% stake in the digital property settlement platform after the IPO. And the company will also receive around cash proceeds worth 180 million Australian dollars, which will be used to pay the debts to make the balance sheet stronger and more flexible. Moving on now, the share price of Agl Energy declined as much as 9% to $9.25 Australian after the company unveiled its demerger plan. And Agl Energy will be renamed Agl Energy or Agl Energy and demerge its retailing business, Agl Australia, into a separate ASX listed entity in the fourth quarter of financial year 2022. Agl Energy will operate the coal-fired power plants and wind farms, and Agl Australia will be a multi-product energy retailer. Let's look at the next stock in action. Australian technology company Calix Limited shares rallied 4% to reach $2.68 Australian on securing funds for its new biotech facilities. And the company has been awarded the maximum $1 million Australian dollar grant under the Australian Government's Manufacturing Modernisation Fund to develop and transform its biotech manufacturing capability of its Bacchus Marsh facility in Victoria. And finally, here's the last company on our list today. The share price of AML3D Limited gained 15% to reach 21 cents after the company announced that it had received a purchase contract from the Boeing company for 3D printing, a tooling component. And the company has received a purchase contract from Boeing to supply an INVAR 361 mandrel tool artefact using the AL3's proprietary wire additive manufacturing process. And now it's time for a short break, but please stay tuned. I'll be back with more trending updates soon.
Tune in to get the latest information.
Whether it's about market movements or the currency graph,
sectoral coverage or industry news.
We cover it all on our news segments.
Be on top of the latest news
with 𝐊𝐿𝐴𝐚 TV.
Yes, welcome back. I am Sage and you're watching 𝐾𝐤𝐴 TV live from Sydney, and this is the last trade show. Well, now let's take a look at the Asian markets that are trading today. The Asian markets continue to trade in a positive territory on Wednesday, with Taiwan hitting new highs amid a surge in the hardware activity for fresh cell phones and computers. And Taiwan's weighted index rallied nearly 1%, while South Korea's Kospi jumped 0.5% on a strong performance by the semiconductor market. China's Shanghai Composite rose, and in a similar trend, New Zealand's benchmark S&P NZX 50 was trading 0.1% higher, and India's BSE Sensex gained 0.35%. Meanwhile, Japan's Nikkei was trading flat, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng fell 0.16%. And moving ahead, let's have a quick update on the crypto market. The cryptocurrency market were trading higher during the Asian trading hours on Wednesday, with major digital currencies such as Bitcoin and Ether flashing in the green. And the market witnessed the bullish trend after the Formula One roped in Crypto.com to be a global partner for its new Sprint series this year. And according to the terms of the contract, the deal is worth $100 million for 5 years. It is the first cryptocurrency to sponsor the Formula One. In a separate development, the Spanish Socialist Party, the governing political body in Spain, has proposed to launch a national digital currency in response to decreased usage of physical cash, according to reports. And Bitcoin, the largest digital currency by market capitalisation, was trading around $35,075, up 0.65%. Meanwhile, Ethereum, the world's second largest crypto, rose 0.2% to $2,120, and Dogecoin dropped 0.3% down to 25.45 cents. And now it's time for another short break, but please stay tuned. I'll be back with more trending updates. Property by 𝐾𝐤𝐴. Looking for a dream home? Well, that may sound easy, but it isn't. And from looking for a property that is the right fit for you in terms of cost and other factors, to zeroing down on the right mortgage plan, there are various aspects to consider. And for the latest slowdown in the property market, tune in on 𝐾𝐤𝐴 TV with me, Sage. I will give the latest updates on the property market as well as real estate stocks to help you make the right decision. Keep watching Property with 𝐾𝐤𝐴. Hello, welcome back. This is Sage. You're watching 𝐾𝐤𝐴 TV live from Sydney, and this is the last trade show. Well, I have a question for our viewers who are CommBank customers. Have you checked your account over the weekend? Well, I'm asking because last Friday, one of the Big Four members began issuing apologies in the form of $50 cash payments to say sorry for the outage that left many unable to access their funds. And specifically, customers were unable to receive their income or pay bills last Wednesday, which would give anyone serious anxiety over their finances. While many may be enjoying the thrill of being $50 richer, plenty of customers were left unsatisfied by the apology. One Twitter user wrote that the money is appreciated, but they'd rather the system didn't go down instead. And not too surprising, as believe it or not, this isn't the first time the bank has compensated meltdowns with cash. In 2019, Commonwealth Bank deposited $50 of sorry cash following a similar outage. And this time around, customers have been told that CommBank will be reviewing their cases independently. And now, before I take your leave, here are some important law changes you should know, as today is the end of the financial year for 2021. And come the 1st of July, there may be higher council rates and public transport fees to apply in New South Wales. Homeowners in New South Wales are expected to foot the bill for the higher council rate fees. Financial year 2022-23 will see a rise of 2.5%. Ratepayers were previously hit with an increase for the financial year 2021 with an increase of 2.6%. They'll have to foot a 2% rise in council fees. Public transport fees are also set to increase for Sydney residents. Individuals travelling on the train network will be paying 1.5% more starting 5th July. However, the $50 weekly travel cap and the $2.50 pension daily limit will remain the same. Light rail and bus journeys less than 3 kilometres won't be affected by the coming changes. But it's all not doom and gloom, hopefully. There will also be a boost to the arts sector. Australia is slowly becoming a sought-after location for shooting feature films and television productions. And as part of the COVID-19 response package, changes to the producer tax offset may offer a boost to the Australian film producers eligible for projects beginning on or after July 1st. And being heavily affected by the economic downturn and social distancing restrictions, the entertainment industry boost will provide a 30% tax rebate on productions having a minimum cost of $1 million being filmed on Australian soil. And in more good news, a pay rise for the New South Wales frontline workers can be expected. A long-awaited 1.5% pay rise is also on the horizon for the New South Wales frontline workers of the coronavirus pandemic. For 410,000 government workers, a pay rise was put on hold last year, frozen due to the fear of job losses, and the government provided $1,000 stimulus payments instead after pressure from the unions. And this cost the New South Wales government $200 million. The New South Wales government saved a significant $3 billion from this 12-month delay, however. And in support for small and medium business owners, a tax reprieve will be easier to obtain. The corporate tax that small or medium businesses have to pay will drop again to 25%, and this tax decrease previously had to be applied for, and the tax rate was at 27.5% at the time the policy began. In 2020 it reduced to 26%, and now, however, all businesses will qualify. Their annual profit turnover is below $50 million. And last but not least, the hospitality sector was also hit hard during the pandemic, so the reprieve for craft beer brewers will also be increased. Budget funds of $255 million in tax relief have also been offered to the craft beer breweries as part of the excise remission scheme for manufacturers of alcoholic beverages. Under the new laws coming into effect July 1st, 100% of the excise costs of up to $350,000 will be refunded by the government, and this was only set at 60%. Previously with a cap of $100,000, and the aim of this is to offer stability and affordability in the cost of craft beers for the Australian community. And I hope you've enjoyed our report for today. That is all for now in the last trade, and with our existing operations in Australia, New Zealand, UK and Canada, 𝐊𝐴 Media has launched its operations in the US markets also. Every day in our first show, the Global Markets Update, you can get the latest and important news of the US and UK markets from the overnight happenings. So on that note, I shall see you tomorrow as close as possible to 10 a.m. live from Sydney. This is Sage signing off.